Have you ever heard of the Buddhist custom of putting salt in your shoes? And do you know what exactly this ancient practice, which has its origins in the wisdom of Buddhists and Oriental medicine, is for? Salt is known for its countless uses, not only in cooking. You've probably already tried several thanks to suggestions from elders. In the kitchen, it is a formidable ally, and according to the most recent research, it is not the worst culprit in raising blood pressure. And its uses do not end here. Salt is in fact a precious ingredient even in domestic cleaning, because it helps to clean and cleanse. Furthermore, in the form of a saline solution, it is a powerful disinfectant for wounds and skin abrasions. Not to mention its uses as an exfoliating scrub, anti-dandruff remedy, bath salt, and we could go on forever. But few people know that for Buddhists, putting salt in their shoes has a very important meaning on both a spiritual and medical level. And we will see it in the Zen story that you will hear shortly, where you will discover 5 reasons why you should also try to put it in your shoes. So stay until the end, because what we will reveal to you in the last minutes of the video will strike you deeply, leaving you speechless. But before continuing, if you are not yet one of us, subscribe to the channel and activate notifications to be updated when we publish new content. In the heart of a valley surrounded by the mystical aura of the Japanese mountains stood an ancient Buddhist monastery, guardian of age-old wisdom and a place of refuge for those seeking inner peace. In this place where time seemed to have stopped, lived the elderly and venerated monk Makoto, whose wisdom and profound understanding of the ways of Buddhism and Oriental medicine shone like the light of a candle in the night. One morning, as the golden rays of the sun filtered through the branches of the trees, Makoto gathered his disciples in the monastery cloister for one of the usual lessons. And with a serene expression, he invited them to sit in a circle around him and began to speak in a warm and reassuring voice. Every step we take on the path of life is a sacred journey, the monk began, a path that leads us to knowledge of ourselves and the universe that surrounds us. And just as when, to face a long and tiring journey, it is necessary to prepare adequately, so also in our earthly existence, we must be ready to face the challenges that await us. The disciples listened, enraptured by their master's words, and when Makoto mentioned the ancient custom of putting salt in shoes, their minds opened to the wonder of a tradition as ancient as it was mysterious. This practice, Makoto continued, has roots that go back to the remotest past, when our ancestors walked through wild and impervious lands. In those distant times, salt was not just a condiment to enrich foods, but a precious commodity, a symbol of purity and protection. The senior monk took a moment's pause, letting the words settle like delicate sand in the minds of his disciples, and then continued, I will now explain to you the 5 main reasons why the practice of putting salt in your shoes is so significant and important for our spiritual path and for our health in general. First, Makoto said, salt has the power to absorb moisture, just as the Buddha absorbed the suffering of the world. When we put salt in our shoes, it helps us keep our steps light and agile. In Buddhist practice, humility is often associated with the heaviness of worries and suffering that we carry with us along the path of life. Just as the weight of water filling our shoes in the rain slows and weighs down our pace, so the worries and tensions of the mind can hinder our progress towards inner peace and enlightenment. Putting salt in your shoes symbolizes the desire to free yourself from this burden, to let go of worries and to maintain a lightness of spirit despite the challenges encountered along the way. Salt acts as an absorbent of these worries, allowing our steps to remain light and agile as we proceed in our search for inner peace and wisdom. To enhance the meaning of this aspect, Makoto told them the story of an old fisherman who during a storm had saved his boat from breaking thanks to a bag of salt that he had thrown on the deck to absorb the water. The second reason to put salt in your shoes, Makoto continued, is that salt has purifying properties. By assimilating impurities, salt purifies our path, freeing it from harmful influences and spiritual obstacles. Putting salt in our shoes, therefore, is a way to protect our mind and spirit from the deceptions and temptations of the outside world. To better explain this idea, the monk shared with his disciples the story of a traveler who, during his journey, had encountered a river infested with evil spirits. Thanks to the salt in his shoes, he was able to cross the river unscathed, protecting his mind and spirit from negative influences. The third reason, Makoto continued, is that salt helps us maintain balance. Just as the mountains that surround us are symbols of stability and strength, putting salt in our shoes also helps us to root ourselves in the earth and to remain steadfast in the face of the storms of life. The mountains surrounding the monastery represent the image of stability and strength, said the monk. Just as these towering rock formations remain steadfast even in the face of the most violent storms, so we too must learn to maintain our inner stability as we face life's challenges. And putting salt in your shoes symbolizes this balance. The salt, in fact, acts as an anchor for our steps, stabilizing them and preventing unwanted falls along our path. When we walk with salted shoes, we feel more solid and rooted to the ground, as if we have a deep connection with the earth itself. This balance not only affects the body, but also the mind and spirit. Therefore, following this practice is an invitation to find the right balance between the different dimensions of our existence. Between work and rest, between action and contemplation, between joy and sadness, between good and evil. When we manage to maintain this balance, we can face life's challenges with serenity and determination without being shocked by the ups and downs we encounter along the spiritual path. To make the concept clearer, Makoto told them the story of a young monk who, during a meditation on the banks of a stormy mountain stream, had found perfect balance thanks to the salt he brought with him. As the disciples became more and more involved with the stories of their spiritual guide, Makoto continued with the fourth reason. Salt also has healing properties, he said. In Oriental medicine, in fact, salt is considered a natural remedy to relieve pain and tension. Putting salt in your shoes can soothe not only the physical discomforts, but also the mental ones that we encounter along our spiritual path. To demonstrate this idea, the monk shared with his disciples the story of a farmer who, suffering from an open wound on his foot, had found relief by immersing his foot in a saline solution. Continuing with the fifth reason, Makoto talked about how putting salt in your shoes was a gesture of gratitude. Salt is a precious gift from the earth, and using it mindfully reminds us to be grateful for all that life offers us, both the joys and the challenges, said the master. The disciples listened to Makoto's words with deep reverence, grasping the wisdom behind that seemingly simple gesture, but the monk wasn't finished yet. Looking his disciples straight in the eyes, he added, "My dears, there is a reason linked to this practice that I wanted to leave until last due to its importance. Putting salt in your shoes is a rite of passage that connects us to past generations and all the people who have walked this earth before us. Every grain of salt represents their stories, their challenges, and their victories. When we put it in our shoes, we join an eternal bond of wisdom and resilience that crosses time and space, transmitting their spirit and strength in our footsteps." Faced with this revelation, the disciples were speechless, contemplating the depth of this apparently simple gesture. They understood that, for Makoto, salt in shoes was not just an ancient practice or a symbol of protection and purification. but a connection to humanity itself and all the lives that have passed before them.